morning.
Oh, no, I'm late.
You're late. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're good. You're clear.
Cool. So are you.
I was
So
thinking maybe I got the time zone wrong or something.
I was just dealing with having to pair the Bluetooths and Zoom
Uh,
wasn't starting.
I
Now
get
we're
it.
here, right?
Okay, awesome. Let's go.
All right. I like your gung-ho-ness. Let's go. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We are here with return guest Kim Ades, and she was here at marketeroftheday.com/131. Her website is Frame of Mind Coaching, and Kim is the president and founder of Frame of Mind Coaching and JournalEngine software. She's an author, a speaker, an entrepreneur, a coach, and a mom of five, and she has 15 years of experience coaching many of North America's most respected leaders. And she uses her unique philosophy and quirky coaching style to help her clients deal with core issues and shift their thinking in order to yield extraordinary results. So, Kim, been about 3.5 years. How are things?
It's great. It's great. Now I have to be quirky, right? Based on that.
Right, you have to live up to your reputations and
That's right.
expectations.
That's right.
Yes.
I'm good. Good
So,
to see you.
yeah, good to see you too. Like now we've evolved here, right? Years later, we're on video, even though we're only recording audio, but at least we have the body language. And last time you were on, two things really stick out to me, even years later. One is that our focus on our discussion was about like journaling and brain dumping and making sense of all the messes in our heads, which I thought is something that like a lot of us don't do or forget to do and need to revisit. And the other thing that sticks out of my head is like you were one of my like first early on interviews. And after we were done recording, like you kind of soft pitched me on a coaching offer. And that was a huge light bulb moment for me because like we kind of all need to be on in one way or another, right? These people that we meet, whether it's podcasting or live events, we need to make sure that we have those offers like available. And I mean, kind of connecting to your expertise here, we kind of need to have that confidence to like not be ashamed of who we are and the things we're trying to do to help people, right?
Well, in the coaching world, everybody kind of can benefit from coaching. So especially someone like you who's out there doing things, moving forward, I consider you highly driven and you're exactly a fit for us. So why not make an offer? Why not see if there's an opportunity, right? So I know a lot of podcasters actually do podcasting for the very purpose of, seeing if the guest is a potential client for them. That's not why I do podcasting, but in this case, it just seemed to be appropriate.
Yeah, it's a nice added benefit. And sometimes even like the host will be primarily there for the client getting, or the guests will be. And yeah, we all have our different goals. Better than doing nothing and better than taking action without that goal. So yeah, I noticed that you have like some new software that you didn't have before. So to get everyone caught up, like what's your focus these days and what's new and cutting edge and exciting with you?
What's new and cutting edge? Lots of things. Number one is we are still coaching the highly driven population. We're still doing that. We're still focusing on their thinking and how their thinking affects their outcomes. So that's like our core business. We are focused on coaching, the executive, entrepreneurial, leadership population. The second thing that I am working on is, very strangely, while I have been coaching people over the past 15 years, 9 out of 10 times, my coaching clients will come to me and say, hey, I'm having a problem with my child, right? And so I realize that amazing leaders are also amazing parents. And so what I'm working on personally is a TED Talk on the relationship between phenomenal parenting and phenomenal leadership. So I'm doing that on a personal level. On a not so personal level, one of the things we're doing is we have this piece of software called JournalEngine. And we're launching it in early December to the public. So it's not for corporate consumption anymore. It's going to be launched to the public as the journal that talks back. So what does that mean? It means that a lot of people journal. They don't know what to journal about. They journal into empty space. They don't feel it's very fulfilling. They don't know how to use it to benefit themselves. They feel like they're complaining all the time and they don't want to keep writing the same thing over and over again. But this will be a journal where when you journal, someone qualified will be reading and responding to your journal to probe, to ask questions, to push you, to challenge your thinking, to get you looking at your life and your beliefs a little bit differently. So the journal that talks back, coming out in December. How's that for cool?
I mean, all kinds of cool stuff. And so what I like there is I mean, I don't know that much about parenting, but it seems like there's a lot of overlap, right? In like some of the skills that you figure out with coaching people who are maybe kind of broken in some way or stuck or need some guidance. And there's that, like, you see the problem and you want to help them, but you also need to like help them find their own way and be patient. So I can see how some skills that you maybe like that you learn in one area apply in other areas. And that's been like a huge, I don't know, aha for me over these last few years, is so many times we're like working on this one project or niche or business, and then those skills that we figure out, they apply to whatever the next thing is that we evolve to, right? Whether it's like some of the coaching stuff or the customer service stuff or like the making the business systems, like there are always things that maybe in the moment, in the present, we think that it's only going to apply to this thing we're building now, but then those skills get stuck in our heads permanently, and then that's something that can apply 5 or 10 years later. And I like also, so this so kind of speaking of that too, I like this concept of your journal engine, the journal that talks back, because it's like you're totally right. There's when you just free write and free form, you're just like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And then there's like the bullet journals, right? The bujos. And sometimes those are okay, but then you're really like stuck in a box. And then also when you're dealing with like a coach or something, there's that need to like compress it all down. And I don't want to talk for 5 pages worth about my problem. So this seems like it's filling a real need here, filling a gap where people can have the long form free content, but then also get the responses. So to help us kind of wrap our heads around this, is there an easy way for you to kind of like walk us through this process? Like what maybe someone would write about, and then like what a response feedback would be?
So every day, like when you wake up in the morning, you're not exactly in the same place, right? You're in a different place. One day you might be super high. Some days you're super low. Some days you're working on a problem. Some days you're just excited for what's ahead. And so we're taking that into account. And so when you go into the journal, you will have the option to select from a series of prompts, depending on how you feel that day. Do you want to look at your future? Do you want to look at your past? Do you want to look at a current problem? Do you want to try to shift your mood? What are you trying to do today? And so you get to choose a prompt, and then you just start journaling. And the moment you journal and you hit submit, you get to choose who you're submitting to. Do you want it just for yourself? Is just this a private experience that you don't want to share with anybody? That's one option. Another option is to share with a whole journaling community to see if anybody's reading and responding to your journal. The third option is to send to what we will call a qualified JournalEngine responder, someone who has had training in reading and responding to journals and understanding what to look for and what to identify and what to hone in on. And that person will ask you questions, provide comments that really allow you to kind of think about your thinking, think about how you're coming to the table, think about your beliefs and whether or not they're really aligned with the goals you have. And so you have those options. All of those options are available to you. The moment you hit submit, and let's say you're submitting it to a JournalEngine responder, that person will then read and respond to your journal with a series of questions and probes and challenges, etc. And so you're getting feedback, instant feedback on your journal. And so now you have something to think about. Now you have a direction to go in. And so often we journal and we're like, okay, fine, that was good. I unloaded, but now what? Where do I go with this? And so this provides you with a direction to go. And that's really helpful. And, a lot of people journal for a bit of time, a small piece of time, and then they stop. The question is why? Because nothing is really sustaining that journaling. But imagine that you have a journal where somebody is actually reading and encouraging you to keep going. And so that the practice of journaling doesn't end, doesn't die. I don't know. Are you a meditator?
No, I every now and then, but just like you said, I can't stick with it.
You can't stick with it. So what is the benefit of meditation? It's this act of slowing your brain down, right? It's like just to get to a place of kind of stillness and quiet. Well, journaling is a little bit similar in the sense that when you journal, you can't possibly type as quickly as your brain thinks. So the act of journaling serves to slow your brain down and get you to like a calmer, more peaceful state. So there are studies that show that journaling lowers blood pressure, lowers stress, increases your immunity, and all these kinds of things. So journaling in and of itself, even if you don't have any responder, is super healthy. So how do you keep going, and how do you use it in a way that propels you forward? That response component is a game changer for people who want to journal and use it to bring you somewhere, to take you in a direction, to bring you closer to your goals, to get you in a better state of peace in your relationships, more harmony, all that good stuff.
Super cool. And so I like how it's like you choose your prompt, you write the stuff, and then you get to choose where it goes to. And I mean, you're so right that like sometimes we just want to keep it to ourselves, but then too much of that, and then the habit doesn't stick, or the habit goes away. And then there's the other problem of, if we knew that every single response was being read, that's almost like posting on Facebook, right? And it's like sometimes you can't be totally honest because you know who's going to read it, and you kind of tailor it to that person. So this is great that we can pick and choose, and sometimes it goes here and sometimes it goes there. And so you mentioned that it's been in use with like corporate people, but now it's open to the public. Is that right? So this has like been around for a while.
Well, it's been around for a while in the sense that we use it from, I run a company called Frame of Mind Coaching, and the centerpiece of our coaching is journaling. So for years and years and years, our clients have been journaling with us, and we've been on the other side of those journals, reading and responding to those journals. But that's just a piece of what we do in the coaching process. It's not done in isolation. And so, part of our secret sauce is that we're really learning about our clients. We're really understanding who they are and how they're wired and how they think. And the journaling provides us with critical data. So take that component and now superimpose that to JournalEngine, and we have the capacity, the ability, the IP to be able to read and respond to people's journals in a way that is super, what's the word I'm looking for? Super accurate, right? So we are able to look at what's written and really dive in, needle in on really what's important in this journal. And that's the most important component.
Right, because it's not like they're just choosing multiple choice questions or like rating their mood or saying like how Facebook used to be, where you like today feeling blessed, today feeling peaceful. They're actually writing the real data, and then you have real people dissecting that.
So this is the opposite of AI. This is the human touch. This is the opposite of informal. It's the opposite of distant. It's really close. It's really intimate. It's really, really person to person. That's a big difference from where the trend in the world is going.
Right. And it's like you're using that, you made the software to make the connection easier, not to make it more distant, right? Like you go to the grocery store, now it's self-checkout. Now, good luck even trying to talk to a person, but you're kind of going the opposite. You're making it easier to make that connection. And what's really cool about what you've done here is there's always a need for like software to solve some kind of problem we have, right? And so you just said, well, here's what we're doing manually, maybe by hand, the slow, a little bit awkward way. And then you say, how can we create a piece of software to maybe cut out some of the steps, make things more automated, make things more efficient. And so, so do you have any like interesting like stories or case studies? I mean, you said that people have been using it in kind of like a closed group. Have you had any like people tell you, before I used the software, before I used the system, things sucked, and then now that I have this ingrained daily habit and these coaches, things are super great?
Well, I'll give you another. I mean, we're just launching this in December, right? So, I mean, journaling is such a central piece of our coaching, and our clients, have experienced dramatic personal transformation as a result of our coaching. But let me just give you one example. It's an old example, but it's a good example. One of the journaling prompts that we give our coaching clients that we will probably use in the JournalEngine sphere is write a conversation between you and anyone you want. It could be someone dead, could be someone alive, could be someone famous, could be someone you had a fight with, it could be someone you're dying to meet, your future husband or wife or whatever. Just choose someone that you are going to have a conversation with. But the only parameter is that it needs to be an ideal conversation. So this one woman I was working with, executive in a digital marketing company, she decided she was going to write a conversation with the Obama administration at the time. And what she wanted was to become Secretary of State. Pretty good, right? And so she wrote this conversation. It was the interview that she was in. They said, wow, we've got your resume. We're super impressed. You're by far one of our top contenders for this role. But tell us in your words, what qualifies you for this position? And so she went in her journal on a long tirade, right? She explained what qualified her for that position. She described her cultural history. She described her entrepreneurial background. She described her education. She described how her parents were from China and they started a company and contributed to the economy. And she wrote out a detailed plan about what she would do in the role of Secretary of State. At the end of the interview, they said, wow, like, you're incredible. You're absolutely our top candidate for this role. But after we've interviewed everybody, we'll come back to you and we'll let you know how it unfolds. And at the end of her journal, she wrote a note to me. She said, how's that for dreaming big? What do you think? Is that dreaming big?
I think so. Yeah, that's some outside the box thinking, and it's like I can see how that can help, right? Because it's like you think big, you get optimistic, you think about your goals, and not just in like these vague terms or in these concepts. Like you're in a real potential future moment in time. And then it's also, it seems like that kind of scenario specifically is like, because it's so like larger than life and exaggerated and like shooting for the stars sort of thing. It's like when you're in a lesser situation, like if you're at a job interview for something slightly below Secretary of State on your journey, then that's a piece of cake, right? And so it's like, it kind of ticks all the boxes. It's fun and exciting, but it also is like almost like too much. And then when in reality or in the interview you have next week, that's a piece of cake.
Right. So what you're really saying is that journaling allows us to dream. It allows us to have a vision, except that in her vision, she didn't give herself the job.
Jeez. I mean, that's a little harsh, don't you think?
No, it's not harsh. She didn't give herself the job. That's the fact. In her journal, she made herself, it's a journal, right? She created this scenario. In her journal, she made herself wait for the job. They had to go and interview everybody else before they said, yeah, you're the one. So that's not an ideal conversation, right? An ideal conversation sounds like this. Hey, we've interviewed all the candidates, right? It's a phone call. We've interviewed all the candidates and you're hands down the best. In fact, we want you to be in the position of Secretary of State, but before you come and start your job, we're going to send you and 6 of your best friends on an all-inclusive paid trip to Italy or something like that. That's crazy, right? But in a place where she could create anything she wanted, she still created a scenario where things didn't quite work out, where things weren't a total green light, where she had to wait for a response. So now when we look at that a little bit more closely, we say, so what are the beliefs you actually have about your achievement, about your performance? And the beliefs that she had was that somebody else had to give her the green light. She needed to wait for permission. She needed to wait for somebody else to open the door and say, yes, we accept you, you're in. And so she was always feeling like she had to prove her worth, right? And so from that exercise, we discovered a whole bunch of things about how she sees herself, how she thinks, and what she believes to be true. Isn't that interesting? Journaling can reveal so much.
It's interesting, but a little scary too, because it seems like the way that you said that even she wasn't aware of this. And then it's not like some information that she would have volunteered because she didn't even know. And then it only came about because of like analyzing whatever subconscious little details came to the surface from the story that she gave.
Well, this is the whole thing. Imagine if you have someone on the other end of the journal who can see what you're writing and ask critical questions that will allow you to see how your thinking is either accelerating your progress or getting in your way. Imagine that. Pretty
That's
powerful,
crazy.
don't you think?
Yeah, and like we're always our own worst enemy, and we're always the ones that hold ourselves back and are all the most critical and all that stuff. So yeah, I can see how this how not just journaling in general is important, but also like journaling with that person on the other end to see the things between the lines. Totally.
Exactly, and that's what JournalEngine is designed to do, is to help you see what you can't see. Is to help you suddenly go, wow, I didn't realize that this was my pattern. I didn't realize that this was the way that I saw the world, and this vision isn't really serving me. I didn't realize that this was my strength and my opportunity. I didn't realize that I should pursue this until I had the opportunity to work it through on this journal.
So relating to that, since we're talking about maybe have like not seeing the thing that's important, and then after a while, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that was there all along. Have you personally, since we last spoke, have any kind of these breakthroughs, ahas, where you were just kind of going in one direction and you realize, oh my gosh, I made this huge mistake and now things are way better?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a good example, right? Like we have this software and we were going to sell it to the corporate world. We were going to sell it to other coaches, speakers, trainers, and encourage the world to get these speakers and trainers to use it with their clients. And then we said, hold on a minute, I think we're heading down the wrong road. You know, our strength is in reading and responding to journals. Why don't we do that? And it was like a sharp 180 from the direction we were going in. A complete change.
And how do you come across those revelations like that? Is that just a matter of with the journaling or the thinking, or is it just like a magic thing that hits you over the head one day?
It's all of the above. So definitely I journal every day. And so journaling helps me see more clearly. But also I talk to people, and two things happen when I talk to people. I hear what they have to say. I get their feedback. I get their questions. I get their like skepticism. I get their response, which isn't always the response I'm looking for. So that helps. So I have a bunch of, let's call them trusted advisors that I lean on for that kind of feedback. But then once I get the feedback, I kind of sit with it and go, okay, so that didn't feel so good. Where do I want to go? Where am I going next? And I think one of the most important questions is that I constantly have to ask myself is, like, what is the key value that I can bring to the world that is unique? What's that unique thing that I bring to the world that isn't so easily replicatable? What's that thing? Right? So there's a million pieces of software out there. That's not the thing. The fact is that I understand how people work. I understand how people think. And I can see very, very quickly how their thinking is either supporting them or hurting them.
Amazing. And as you're saying that, you're finding your key value, your uniqueness, and saying, is it this? Nope, someone already else took that. It seems like maybe we all need to be a little more patient with ourselves while also taking action, and just remember these fundamental tools, right? The journaling, the having the trusted advisors, all those things that we've all heard so many times, and it's almost a cliche, but why aren't we doing them, right? Why aren't we just remembering that there's all these proven little things, and there's still, work to be involved, and there's still things to be figured out, and we all have our own personal issues. But yeah, I'm hearing from you that how important it is to remember to slow down and have those basics, those fundamentals, and be honest with ourselves, and have people that will be honest with us and not harsh and mean, but those trusted advisors. So yeah, this is all really great stuff we're talking about today. And I want to make sure that everyone runs and does not walk. They run to go check out Frame of Mind Coaching and JournalEngine software. So can you tell us, after listening to our conversation today, where should people be going to take the next step?
So there's two things. Number one is, if you're interested in coaching, please come and check us out. Please come and have an experience with us. So go to frameofmindcoaching.com. We have all kinds of resources on our website, but one of the things that we would invite you to do is experience a complimentary coaching call. So imagine, in that complimentary coaching call, that call alone will show you things that you haven't seen before, will wake you up to things that you haven't noticed about yourself. So those calls are amazing. Again, complimentary, no strings attached. Please try that. The second thing is, come December, we're going to be launching JournalEngine.com, and try it out. We're going to be offering a free trial to journal. So please try it out. Start journaling, get some feedback, see what that's like. Give us some feedback. We're interested in hearing from you too.
I love it. And that's a healthy attitude, right? You're there to do your best and then get the feedback and then adjust, so that way everybody wins. And so those two web addresses to go to is frameofmindcoaching.com. So that way you can find out what all the fuss is about. You can go through that experience, claim that complimentary coaching call. And the worst case scenario is that you keep doing what you're already doing, which is where you're at right now. So there's nowhere to go but up, and there's always things to be improved and changed. And like we said with that story earlier about the Secretary of State person, sometimes there are things that we don't even know are a problem, or things that we don't even know are holding us back, and we're like, oh my gosh, I just needed someone else from the outside looking in at a different angle perspective to help me out there. So that is frameofmindcoaching.com to claim that complimentary call, and JournalEngine.com if you've heard about the magic of journaling, but you didn't stick with it, or you thought that it was too time consuming or too much work, you didn't get any feedback, well, guess what? Now this is the brand new cutting edge way of doing it. JournalEngine.com and frameofmindcoaching.com. And thanks so much, Kim, for being a return guest and waking us up and telling us what we need to do to keep moving forward. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's always fun to talk to you. I thank you so much.
Thank you too. All right, cool. So that's coming out in, I think, mid-February.
Okay, perfect.
So when it's
by then.